I've always been a Korg guy before I even got the endorsements for Korg. My first synthesizer was the Korg Poly 800. Yeah, it was the green one. And then my second synthesizer was the Korg Poly 800 2, the Roman numeral 2. It was the black one. So, the guy in Cleveland named Ruben Ells, we would play around town. I would play in his band, and I would play his gear. I didn't have to bring any gear. He had the Roland Juno 106, I think it was, and a Korg DW 8000. And I learned how to get around Korg. When experimenting with other keyboards, preferably Yamaha, it was just too difficult. And anything that's going to challenge me creatively, I don't deal with it. I don't deal with it. And it's not a slight to Yamaha, don't get me wrong. It's not a slight to Yamaha, even though they slighted me. Yeah, Yamaha America slighted me, man. They hit me hard. I tried to get a piano endorsement with Yamaha. You know what they told me? And I don't mind putting this on record. Yamaha America told me that I didn't play well enough and that I wasn't famous enough. That's what they told me. They wouldn't give me an endorsement. But at the same time, I should have told them, well, your keyboards are too difficult. You know? So yeah, they did that to me. So I'm proud to, and it just so happened that I was in Japan playing a show, and the MD of the show was good friends with Jerry Kowarski, who was at the company at the time, and the great Jack Holtop, who's still in the company. And I actually met them through this guy. And my at the time was the Korg Trinity. I had just gotten a publishing deal, and part of that publishing deal was that they had to buy me some gear, and I chose the Korg Trinity. So I had already sequenced straight from the vault on the Korg Trinity. I did all of the sequencing on that, and I did all of my analog and vocal stuff on the Roland DS880. So I linked the two together. And that's how I recorded straight from the vault. And I explained that to the guys at Korg. I told them that's what I used. Next thing I know, they called me. I gave them a copy of Straight from the Vault. They listened to I'd Be a Fool from that album. Gave me a call and asked me to go in the studio with my LA band and re-record I'd Be a Fool. And that was for the Korg D3200. That was my first instrument. It's a 32-track digital recorder. And instead of recording on the VS880, I now have the Korg D3200. Stay right there. This was my first project for Korg, the Korg D3200.
Wow.
And when I got this, after working on it, I no longer recorded on the Roland VS880. They actually had me do the demo for this instrument right here, and no more VS880. So they said, you link this with your Trinity now. And that's how I got in with Korg. And I've been working with Korg ever since. And we're talking every bit of 2005. Yeah. So it stays in the studio with me, even though I've got Logic, even though I can sequence in this Chronos, I still use my D3200. This D3200 recorded live in Johannesburg, and it also recorded live at the Bitter End. Remember Donny Hathaway?
Oh yeah,
right in here. This thing is awesome for live recording. You know, awesome. And it's an old piece now. I never part with it. It's an old piece. It's considered an old piece, but mine is still like brand new. But then here comes QSC. Now, I'm in Amsterdam doing my radio show, and the mixer that I had blew up on me. You know, I can't travel with this to do my radio show
right.
with. I had a little Tascam mixer, and I plugged it in. You know, it's we're on 110 currency here. It's 220 there. I blew it up. And I just happened to get an email. Yeah, I blew it up. I just happened to get an email from my brother that was, Polisi was his name. Polisi was from Australia, and he worked with QSC. And he was just out of the blue, just wrote me and said, man, I'd like to put you in touch with QSC, because you're a great keyboard player. You should be using their mixers. That, I know that was God himself, because that email came during a time where I had blown up my mixer and I had to get my radio show done and turn into all the stations. And you know exactly what I'm talking about, because I had my radio show back then. So, he puts me in touch with Brad Zell, who's another genius. Puts me in touch with Brad Zell. And I tell Brad what happened. And Brad worked out something with some people. I think they were in Hamburg, Germany. And I did a deal with QSC, and I got my hands on a mixer, and I was able to do my radio show. That mixer was the Touch Mix 8. And I've been endorsing the Touch Mix ever since. Yeah, so the Touch Mix 8, Touch Mix 16, and they also had the Touch Mix, I think it's 30 or 32 or something like that. Dave P. Stevens had that one. I recorded No Rehearsal live in Amsterdam in that. Put a hard drive on that joint. It's a fast hard drive. I took it, I could fit it in my backpack. And I took it, connected it to the board. You got separate channels, and then you record whatever records into that board goes from the board into the mixer. From the mixer, it goes right into that hard drive. So I was on the plane the next day, dropping right after we recorded that album. I'm on the plane the next day, dropping the files from my hard drive into Logic, and I'm mixing the record right there on the plane. So technology is great, but I'll never get rid of my D3200 because it set me on my path.